Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to What's Map, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Well, it's Tuesday's request day. Today's map was requested by the retired Mandalorian over on Discord, and it's a map that is taken from a real-life location down in Tasmania, Australia. But everything else about the map kind of sings Los Angeles, California, including the name. And the name will be covered in factoids because factoids. Now, we are down to ground with a bump today. Not that the map is bad. It's not bad at all. It's actually quite interesting and fairly well done in all respects. But after yesterday, if you've not seen yesterday's show, make sure you go and watch that next. You will be mightily impressed. The return of Bringer of Fire with a map that's taken a year to build. This particular map has got plenty of good stuff to talk about. Certainly the shape is very interesting indeed. One or two talking points as well, but nothing that you're going to break your heart over. But before we do any of that, of course, we're going to start the day with... That's right, the daily reminder, reminding you to do something daily. I wonder if you can work out what that is. Thank you for your support. Today's map is Encino Bay, or Encino Bay. I'm going Encino Bay because it looks like it probably should be, by Tacoz or TacozG. I'm going TacozG. So Encino Bay, TacozG, that's the direction we're going. There's your start square. Sorry, the top-down views are a little bit dull. I forgot to pump the light settings up until the flyover, so that's my bad. But everything else is good, including the terrain heights look good as well. The resources are good and strong, like so. Lots of forestry today. Lots of forestry. And we've got a fairly interesting looking fishing map if you have Sunset Harbour. Off to the workshop. What do we need? Well, a few bits and pieces, but not too many. It's a mass transit map. You will need mass transit for this one. Not so sure about After Dark. Maybe there's something in there that I missed, but you probably get away without After Dark. A list of required trees. We're using the Los Angeles theme from OWL today. The realistic 1.2 LUT and the unlimited, not Tree Anarchy, unlimited tree mod as well, because 700,000 trees. I'm going to start off with what is a fairly good looking bridge. I'm not quite sure why we're going from 2 lanes to 3 lanes for the bridge, but it's not a problem. And then you can see here we've got a little bit of a jinky janky, that's for the BonBonBingo players, but over what is a fairly good looking bridge. It's with the jinky janky, there's a little bit of extra work that can be done, and I guess the 2 ways that you could do that is you could smooth out the road leading up to the bridge, so that we don't get little jaunts in it. I guess there is always that. Or we could do a little bit of move it work on the bridge, and we'll do that in today's show. There's plenty more other little things, talking points with today's map, which I'm thinking what we'll do, or what I'll do, is do a What's Map extra. That's one of those special shows, extra shows that I do for the BonBon buddies over on Patreon. I'll talk about it briefly today, and then in one of the upcoming shows, what I'll do is I'm going to do a little bit of terrain work on the map, just to tweak it in 1 or 2 small places. The 1 or 2 small places could be extended to the entire map in terms of elevating it from what I see as a very high 3-star map into what would be a fairly low 4-star map. That's a big change, you know, it's a big difference going from 3 stars to 4 stars. Following the highway here, by the way. Just it's a bit of a drive around the bay to get to where all the interesting stuff starts. But yes, the map is, I would say there's nothing wrong with the map. If you decide to play the map, you're going to be having a good time with it. It's a map that's going to give you an interesting build. Some interesting shapes on there, and I would say with the theme is quite an interesting theme as well. Oh, I've left something in the bay. If you see something in the bay that looks like a road in the bay, that's my fault. I was testing something earlier and I forgot to remove it. Don't look in the bay, or if you look in the bay, ignore anything you see in the bay. That is an oopsie on my behalf. Just notice that. Hey ho. Anyway, so yes, TacozG. They have made a few maps. I see some of their early work included the Fallout, was it the Fallout 4 map? Liberty City map. I mean, recreating maps from other games, which frankly almost always ends badly. I think there's probably a couple of decent-ish. The rail, by the way, starts about here, heading back towards away towards the where all the highways coming in. That's what I mean. Actually, speaking of highways and stuff coming in, we're going to come across our first intersection in a moment. So let's talk about that rather than alternate maps. I'll talk about the alternate maps in a moment, I guess. But yes, here we go to our first intersection. The intersections are fine, actually, and what I quite like about this one is it's part of a trio intersections. Like this one only connects in one direction. So it splits and heads off over the bay with the rail, which we'll kind of join up with in a moment. If we then head down towards down the river towards there, that's the start square. Sorry, the intro and entry point. There's the word outside connection. There's words that make sense. And that's also a split there, and then this also splits here to form a triangle of intersections that work together, and I quite like that. Worth pointing out that if you split, then you are working together. Right. But yes, maps from other games don't often work very well. I think we had one that was, I can't remember which game it was. Was it a Final Fantasy map or something like that? That was quite fun and interesting. And I'll give some credit for that one. But most of the others, they never work particularly well. They just don't scale right. Maybe they've just not been done by one of the top creators yet. Might be that. Anyway, start square intersection here. It's another one that splits off from the highway that works with other intersections. And then it just stops over here. This is your start square. It's a little bit undulatory. But it doesn't actually connect in any other direction other than back down the way we came. So that's something to consider when you start building. Then if we head on this way, you'll see a secondary start location. So I guess you can build in the little valley here. And some nice beaches. All credit for the beaches. And yes, I did notice the sand detailing under the water. And we'll take a brief look at that in the second half of the show. And then over here, this is an intersection that accesses from both directions. So it doesn't need to support intersection, which then leads us into the start square over here. Which makes me think that the start square intersection is a little bit broken. I mean, it works. It just only works in one direction, and maybe that's one you'll want to start building on when you start doing your city build. The rail, we follow the rail a little bit from one direction. It's a little bit uppy-downy. It's not a true realism map in terms of the gradients, but there's nothing here that's, once again, nothing here that's going to make you cry too much. You'd be quite happy to either fix this, or many of you won't care, frankly, because the game mechanics don't affect the rail at all. But yeah, those of you that are looking for a true realism city, you might want to fix the rail a little bit as you go along. Okay, so we're heading now back down towards Start Square, which is the location where the rail is going to end, which is good. Well, what I'm going to do is going to take a brief intermission. We'll come back, we'll check for the shipping routes, we'll check for the water flow, we'll have a look at a few of these points of interest, including the areas which I feel that we need to take a look at in What's Map Extra. And speaking about What's Map Extra, here's a little bit more information. Did you know there's exclusive content available on Patreon and to YouTube members? For example, What's Map Extra, an occasional show looking in more detail at a previous map. So why not become a BonBon buddy today? So that one will be about the rivers. We'll have a look at the rivers shortly. Nothing wrong with the rivers, by the way. Just something to talk about. Shipping routes. We have one that goes the length of the map over here out in the ocean, which is fine. Does exactly what it needs to do, which is good. And then we have another one over here somewhere. There we go. And this one goes into all the bays. Like that one goes in under the bridge, which certainly looks high enough. So all credit for that. And then heads up this way. It also goes into the bay off to the right there as well with the little shipping triangles. All good sound work. Water flow, there isn't really much in the water flow situation down here in the start square, but we have access to water on both sides of this peninsula. So you can pump from one side, draw from the other, and there's a little bit of motion over this way, but I don't think it's about the water flow. I think it's going to work fine, just about. It'll be fine, trust me. I'm a map reviewer. Anyway. The map is a really interesting shape. I've got to say, this is going to make for an interesting build. It's not perfectly flat. It's not too hilly. It's definitely spaced down there. Also, the undersea detailing with the sand is just a little bit swirly. Adds a little bit of interest to the map as well. And it's just a fine little addition. And the beaches are quite slick too. So plenty of credits to be given there. So anyway, the interesting parts include things like the river networks, which I can say the shapes of these rivers are fine. But then you compare them with yesterday's map. Unfair to be compared with yesterday's map, to be fair. We're talking about one of the true greats. But when you compare these rivers with yesterday's rivers, they're not quite on a par. They're interesting shapes, but then they're not particularly well worked down the length of them, and they just feel like they're I mean, they're not gouged, but there's no variation, and it's very hard to put a finger on. Plus, of course, along with the tree detailing along the sides of them could be amended. We've got no drowned trees, which is credit for that. Oh, this bridge. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Right, I'm going to do a very quick fix on this bridge. Simply with the Move It tool. I'm going to grab, in fact, we'll use the Marquee tool. Let's see if we can line this one up. I'm just going to push them all up and overlap them in the middle there. Oh, we've got one over here as well. There you go. That gets rid of the jinky-janky, slightly slicker looking bridge. Didn't need to be moved apart because the 2-lane highways on each side were already separated. So I think that's pretty reasonable work. Now, some of the river areas look quite interesting, like this. Only some of them. I would say that's an interesting part of the rivers. Also over here, this looks quite interesting with 3 entering all pretty close together. And again, this is not bad river work. It's not. We're comparing with one of the greats. It's kind of unfair. But this river doesn't look too bad at all. But this river's a bit interesting. First of all, we've got a little convergence of 2 rivers coming together there, which is nice. And if we go upstream to the left, we're going to come across something which is a bit perplexing. Again, doesn't matter. It's too close to the edge of the map to really be a worry. But if we head up here, suddenly see we're going back downstream again. We've actually got a river loop, and that makes no sense at all. Somewhere up this part of stream here is going to be a water spawn point. And water spewing out in both directions. Where are we? This looks like a culprit. There we go, right there. Water spawning out in both. Of course, it's the only place on the map that happens, so we can ignore that one. It's a silly thing. We won't find anything else like that anywhere else on the map, apart from here at the top of the hill there, where we got another one. But that one does leap off towards the edge of the map. But yeah, we got a couple of mid-river spawns, which is... I mean, let's say Tacoz has done it on purpose as a little bit of an in-joke. That's what we're going to say. As it's so deep in the fog, nobody's ever going to notice. And I do like the shape and size of this island in the middle. This is going to make for, again, for an interesting build. And I'm all about the interesting builds, including a little BonBon island on the end there. I quite like that as well. A little bit like a Star Destroyer in shape. I'm all for that. But yeah, interesting shape map. What more can we ask for? No, not too hilly, some interesting shapes, all of the resources that you're going to want, all of the connections that you're going to want, maybe an improved intersection. For the start square, maybe that's what we could do with. But we do have an asset of the day. This is nice, isn't it? Triangular office RICO ready by Waluter. Okay, read the comments, read the description on this one. If you're using the realistic population mod, this will need some extra settings on it. But if you're using mods, you should do that anyway. Factoids, because factoids. In 1769, the Spanish Portola expedition, first Europeans to see the inland areas of California, travelled north through Sepulveda Pass into the San Fernando Valley on the 5th of August and stayed for 2 nights at a native village near what is now the Los Encinos State Historic Park. Fray Juan Crespi, a Franciscan missionary travelling with the expedition, named the valley El Val de Santa Catalina de Bolina de los Encinos, the Valley of St. Catherine of Bologna of the Holm Oaks in English. All of Crespi's name was later dropped except for Encino, and so Encino. That's the only listing I could find for Encino on Wiki. Anyway, triangular office RICO ready by Waluter. Great little asset there of the day. And a great little map. Yeah, I told you it's a bit of a cross between California and Tasmania, didn't I? And that's what we've got, and I think it works. But do you think it works? Your chance to tell me, is it a 1-star map? Is it a 5-star map? Is it somewhere in between? Your vote really does count. We use it at the end of the month for the viewer's choice. Will this be one of the top 10 maps of the month? Only you can decide. Hit the I button now in the top right hand corner of your screen, or the link in the description. It'll take you to the voting page where you can vote for free. But what do I think of today's map? Well, I'm going to give it a fairly consistent score, I feel, today, in that it does feel like a high 3 stars, almost a low 4-star map. Aesthetically, looks good. Can't find anything wrong with it. Doesn't mind blow me in any shape or direction. I don't feel that we're really pushing into the next levels. In terms of the rivers, if anything, they are holding the map back rather than elevating it, which is a shame because they are interesting shapes. I'm going to go for a medium-high 3 stars. Detailing, nothing wrong with the map. A few things that can be just improved on, a little bit here and there. Credit for the beaches, credit for the sand detailing, but it still doesn't feel anything higher than a middly high 3 stars. Gameplay, pretty playable, won't let you down. Nothing broken about it, nothing elevating it to the next level. Again, improve the intersection for the start square, but again, medium high 3 stars. Encino Bay by TacozG, a perfectly solid map that pales into insignificance compared to yesterday. It's not fair to compare with yesterday. It's simple as that. Good work. Good work, Mr. or Ms. Creator, or Ms. Creator, or Master Creator. I'm going down the path I can't get out of there. No matter how hard I try, I'll never find a way. But I will find a way of using the word of the day. But can you? If you're still here, you're part of the 20 and out elites, use the word of the day in the comments. Score yourself some population points, and I'll be back tomorrow with another map in the What's Map series. See you then.